What is up, my friends? How are we? It is Wednesday night, and as always, you're very welcome along to tonight's late night agenda. The weather is absolutely miserable outside here in Ireland, but I hope that I'm going to add a little bit of sunshine to your day. He says with one of the most cringy intros he's ever done, but you know what I mean. I'm on a big love-in vibe. So, how are we all? Hope you're doing well. Tonight, we're going to talk about, well, Romano think it's going to be a quiet January for Liverpool, so we're going to try to figure out what he means by quiet. Because for me, if we don't bring in a centre back, we're up a certain creek without a wooden instrument to paddle us along. We're going to talk about Arne Slot. We're going to speak about Virgil van Dijk. We're going to talk about KONATE, Gnabry, Semenyo, a couple of other links to Liverpool players. Tyler Morton may be returning to the Premier League, albeit not with Liverpool. We'll talk about whether Liverpool will look to bring Jarell Kwanzaa back in the future. We'll have a discussion about that one as well. And of course, I'm going to have a little moan about the Echo, as I always like to do. You know, wouldn't be an Anfield Agenda stream without me moaning about the Echo in some way, shape or form. So other than that, as always, whatever you guys want to discuss, the floor is yours. And yeah, thank you for joining me. Right, ladies and gents, where to start this evening? Where to start? Should we start with the Echo moan? Should we get that out of the way early doors so you don't have to listen to me? As always, I read every Echo article like I do every other website's pieces that I can get my hands on around Liverpool. And it was a piece that was about basically Howard Webb and about Virgil van Dijk's goal being ruled out offside. Now, I know we're all sick to death of talking about it, but I just wanted to read out a couple of paragraphs from this piece, and it kind of just summarises quite why I don't like a lot of the work that comes out of the Echo. So let me just explain to you. So it said, putting aside the inevitable and patently daft claims of conspiracy, largely made on the strength of Michael Oliver, increasingly at the scene of the questionable decisions, being the VAR on Sunday, this is about ensuring such arguments don't take place again. Did Liverpool complain to shine a spotlight on the job of the officials? Of course they did. Did it distract temporarily from criticism of their performances at the Etihad? That is beyond dispute. But it's the first couple of lines of this that once again I find really condescending from the Echo. Putting aside the inevitable and patently daft claims of conspiracy, are they really that daft though? Like, are they really that daft? Are we saying that there's nothing to the idea of Michael Oliver shafting us over and over again? Is that what we're saying there, Mrs. and Mr. Echo readers and writers? Because for me, I don't know why Michael Oliver is always at the scene of the crime in these big games, but he is. And I don't believe in coincidences. I don't believe in coincidences over and over and over again. So let me know what you think about Michael Oliver being at the scene of the crime, because they think it's, you know, what's the words they used? Patently daft to claim that Michael Oliver might have a reason, maybe, to be very pro-Manchester City, let's just say. I'll leave it with that. Because for me, I don't really know what else to say. You know, if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's most likely a motherfucking duck. That's the way I was brought up. And, you know, we can go back through the decisions over the years. And I'm talking about the big games here. The potential top of the league clashes, whether it's Liverpool or Arsenal, Liverpool or Manchester City. Whenever there is a contentious big decision in those games and Michael Oliver's involved, I don't remember many going in our favour. That's just that's my take on it. And like I said, I don't believe in these coincidences. 414's made you look good for the intro. I look good all the time, Ava. I don't know what you're saying, my friend. I look great all the time. I think they did me a little bit dirty on the intro, but I still love it. I hope you're well as well, Ava. Nice to see you in. I wish I could dance like the intro, but, you know, we all know that isn't happening. Who do you think wins on Saturday in the boxing? I'm going to stick my money on a Conor Benn knockout. I don't know if that will happen, by the way, because it is a pick and fight like it was the first one. Chris Eubank Jr. deservedly won the first fight. But I don't know, just have a feeling, so I'm going to probably stick 50 quid on Conor Benn stoppage by knockout, but I'll probably be wasting me 50 quid. You know, sometimes you just have a gut feeling, you want to run with it. So yeah, I'm definitely going to be watching it though. Can't wait, really excited. The first fight was brilliant. It really, really was a good scrap. Wonder how Oliver would do under a lie detector test, said Wendy Hollingsworth. So Wendy, I truly, like, I'm not saying it's corruption to be a pussy. I don't know. Like, I'm not for 1 second trying to suggest Michael Oliver's taking a few bob from anywhere. I don't mean it to come across like that. What I am saying is it out of the realms of possibility that maybe he may be sympathetic to another cause, shall we say? Because I can't, for the life of me, fathom some of the decisions that he's made over the years. And when you're seeing the Jeremy Doku kick on McAllister being used as an example of a high foot, but yeah, we were told both went in high at the time. And I can't remember who exactly was on VAR in that game and who was the ref, but Oliver seems to be in and around a lot, and the Odegaard one as well, that handball. Some of the stuff is farcical. So yeah, I just wanted to know what you guys think, because it's very easy for the likes of the Echo and others to call us conspiracy theorists, but, well, do we think the Paul Tierney stuff was conspiracy driven, or do we think maybe Paul Tierney didn't really like Liverpool very much? Do we think that the stuff around David Crute was conspiracy driven until it was proven not to be conspiracy driven? So I just find them condescending, and it really annoys me, because I don't know who the fuck they think they're talking to, but they seem to speak down to Liverpool fans quite a bit. Kaz, how are we, my friend? Hi, Craig Mods, a Liverpool fan. Thank you for always being here. My granddaughter Keegan, 7, loves you too. Love a shout out to her. Much love. Keegan, what a cool name as well, by the way. Keegan, thank you for watching. And if ever there is a time, Keegan, where you see me shouting and getting angry, don't worry about it. I'll be fine in 2 minutes' time. But thank you for watching. Oliver was on VAR, said Petter. See what I mean? Like, it's not... How can all of these very debatable decisions seem to go against us constantly in big games? But yeah, I'm supposed to believe as a Liverpool fan that, I don't know, it's all just a coincidence. I don't believe in that. And I don't believe in going the full length of calling everyone that has any questions conspiracy theorists as well, because that's just what's used to shut people down a lot of the time, and I find it annoying. What do you think about Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul? I would pay good money to see Anthony Joshua put Jake Paul to sleep. So if it happens, I'll pay for it. I'll pay for my subscription to watch it, I mean. Yeah, look, there's two ways to look at this, Ava. You can look at it and think Jake Paul is taking the piss. But honestly, I put myself in his shoes. Would I get into a ring with Anthony Joshua for 5 million quid? Probably not, because the odds of me coming out of that ring the same way I went into it would pretty much be slim to none. So fair play to him for being ballsy, if he does. You know, honestly, fair play. It's one thing fighting an over-the-hill Mike Tyson, which I thought was a disgrace. But if he wants to go in with Anthony Joshua, fair enough. Somebody needs to fucking shut Jake Paul up properly. I know Tommy Fury beat him, but somebody needs to go in there and do it properly. So, you know, if he's stupid enough to get in there with AJ and it's, you know, it's a genuine fight, it's not going to end well. It's not going to. Look at Francis Ngannou, and he couldn't take AJ's power. So I'm not having it for 1 second that Jake Paul would last 2 rounds if AJ's serious. Hi Craig, hope you're well. Are you going to watch the UFC and boxing? I'm going to say Eubank does it again. Love the intro. Didn't know you had those moves. I really don't, Harry. I really don't. I'm not... Actually, do you know what? I say I'm not big into UFC, but I got a Nick Diaz signed glove today, actually. I might actually make my wife get it for you. Hang on. Yeah, she hates me right now. Yeah, I got a Nick Diaz signed glove today, actually, and I have a Tom Aspinall one coming over as well. You know, I like collecting my memorabilia, but yeah, I love the one. The reason I got the Nick Diaz one was because I love the inscription on it. It says, "Don't be scared, homie." So yeah, Anyway, what I'm trying to say in a long-winded way is I'll be watching the boxing. Not really 100% sure if I'll tune into the UFC or not. It depends how late it is and how tired I am. I'd happily get punched up for 5 million, said Nomad. You see, I'd get in with like a Mayweather for 5 million. Somebody that, you know, might just beat me to shit. But here, pass it into us. So this is the Nick Diaz signed glove frame thing that we got there today. Thank you. So yeah, that's going to be going up probably in the bedroom, in all honesty, because we're running out of space elsewhere. UFC will most likely be 6ish. As in AM. If it's in the AM, that's a little bit too late for me. Right. Benjamin said, I'm so interested in the reports from Felix Romano on Alonso. I think Alonso is going. Are we waiting to replace Slot with Xabi? My mate from Spain thinks he's gone. Ruffle too many feathers. So, I don't know if he's gone or not, but I did read a piece that I wanted to talk about, actually, which talks about Real Madrid and Alonso versus Ancelotti. And it comes from Romain Molina, and it said, during Carlo Ancelotti's time at Real Madrid, some of the players went to Ibiza after games instead of returning to Madrid. Some were also often absent from training and did whatever they wanted. They wanted to repeat that with Xabi Alonso, but it didn't work. This has angered the entourage of some of the players who feel Xabi Alonso is meddling with the affairs of the players. Lads, is that a football club? Seriously. Because I'm telling you now, if this was Liverpool and I heard that Liverpool players were not coming back to games because they wanted to stay in London and party in nightclubs every week or, whatever, I wouldn't be happy with it. So what type of a culture is that at Real Madrid if the players have the freedom to do whatever they want and they're not accountable to the manager at all? There's no way at all that Alonso is going to take that. And nor should he. Because if the club don't back Alonso in this stance, it's a shit show. Simple as that. It's ridiculous. So I would certainly say if they want to turf somebody out of that club, it shouldn't be Alonso. It should be the divas who aren't willing to put in the hard yards and live like a model professional. You're getting paid top whack to play at one of the biggest football clubs in the world. You've got to live the life of a professional athlete. So, yeah, kind of surprised me because I really didn't think that type of stuff would go on these days in football with, the way footballers are looking after their bodies and stuff like that. It just, shocked me. Bobby, how are we, dude? Evening, Craig. Hope you're well, my friend. I'm good, yeah. I'm good, my man. Can't complain. Just trying to get through this international break, it's only the start of it and I'm already bored. But look, let me get through some of the news for you. So, something I mentioned in the late night video last night, which was a post from Julien Laurent's esteemed football journalist from France, who said, I know these numbers are out already, but still they're worth mentioning again. And the numbers are kind of damning of our output and our effort against Manchester City. So Manchester City ran 118 kilometres, 118 kilometres against Liverpool on Sunday versus our 109 kilometres. So there was just under 9 kilometres more run by Manchester City. Now, to put that into perspective, that's the second biggest difference between two Premier League teams this season. The other one was Manchester City versus Wolves. That's shocking. So it wasn't just our eyes. It wasn't just your eyes. It was a tepid, performance that didn't have the same energy levels as we'd seen against Real Madrid Tuesday. And so 9 kilometre difference there, which is what, roughly 0.8 of a kilometre, 0.85 of a kilometre for every single player out there. That's not good enough. That's not good enough. When our team is built on work rate, hard work, effort, running, that's a damning stat. Right, let's keep going. So, can we talk about Raheem Sterling really quickly? I was watching Sky last night and they did a story about Raheem Sterling suffering another home break-in and that he makes sure that he ushered his missus and kids to safety while he went upstairs to confront the burglars. And I just want to say, as a father, a man, a human being, well done to Raheem. I can only imagine how difficult those situations are. And this is the second time he's been broken into. So they obviously thought with Chelsea playing he was going to be away from his house, but he wasn't. He was there and he made sure that his kids and his missus got out safe. So I think he deserves massive credit for that. And I hope he and his family are okay. Look, he didn't leave Liverpool in a way I would have liked. But as a human being, I'm just happy him and his family are safe. And I hope they don't have to go through anything like that again. Because I can only imagine how terrifying it'd be. 5 lads in his house upstairs. Well, he and his family were downstairs and he went up to confront them. So well done, Raheem. Right. So we've been talking a lot on the channel and you guys have been asking about formations quite a bit over the last few months. And Bent Bochak posted something earlier on that I think may intrigue you. So let me read it out to you and explain. So he said, just talking to @LFC approved, and it seems like the under-21s are playing a back 3 tonight. He said, very interesting. Wouldn't be surprised if we saw this being trialled with the senior side after the international break. So what do we think about that one? The possibility, like if the under-8, I can see where they're coming from. Absolutely. Like the whole idea of a philosophy in a sporting director is that football, right through every age bracket at the club, is played to the ethos of the sporting director, and that usually involves the formation being similar all the way through the ages. So if the 21s are looking at using a back three, it doesn't, it doesn't rule out the idea that maybe we are going to see this. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on that, because I don't think we have enough centre-backs for it. And if you add that into what I'm going to say in a few minutes about it maybe being a quiet January, it kind of just, it both intrigues and worries me, because we've had these conversations and I don't think we'd all be too sad if we do play a back three. We talked about Kirkes and Frimpong and maybe that's suiting them better. And I could also say, even if you had Andy Robertson and Connor Bradley, they would both suit a wing-back position very, very well. They're both energetic, both love to get up and down, both not afraid to get across in an attack. So I'd be intrigued. I'd be intrigued if it happened, but, I think we'd need to bring in at least another centre-back or two to have... Because I don't want Robertson playing left of a back three. That would annoy me. I want a back three being a back three made up of 3 centre-backs. One left, one centre, one right. So I hope we do bring somebody in. But to kind of piss all over your cornflakes, Romano also said Liverpool have not contacted the agent or representative of any other managers because there's absolutely no intention of changing anything. They remain full trust with Arne Slot and the players. He also said Liverpool keep believing Arne Slot is the right man for the job. He's the man to fix the situation, is the right man to help this team perform after many signings, after many changes, after many different things compared to last season. And so Liverpool maintain their confidence in the manager. But here comes the frustrating part. He also said, I think Liverpool is going to be very quiet in the January window. In the summer, it can be different. So let me ask this as a poll question. Okay. Right, so will you be happy with no January signings? If Liverpool don't sign anybody in January, are you going to be happy? Yes, no, or unsure? Because I tell you what, I'll be pretty pissed off about it, because we need a centre-back. I can understand not getting a wide forward in if you can't get one in till the summer. I could understand the defensive midfielder situation, but I can't for the life of me understand why we wouldn't look at getting a centre-back in January when it's very, very clear that we need one. Very clear we need one. So if we don't get one in January, genuinely I'm concerned, because then you're in a situation where you've got 2 centre-backs and Joe Gomez is back up. The manager doesn't seem to really want to utilise Joe Gomez too much. So then we're one injury away from being up shit creek. So I'd be pretty concerned about it. Look, if Leone hadn't picked up an injury, I wouldn't be having this conversation. And I know you don't want to bring somebody in just because somebody's injured. But if you look to the fact that we're unsure what's happening with KONATE as well, I just think we'd be best served to bring in a centre-back. Brave is Robin says no, because as you say, Craig, we need at least one good centre-back. And that's it for me. We're already skating on thin ice with regards to the depth at centre-back, because young Giovanni Leone's injured and KONATE's form has been shaky. And as I said, Joe Gomez up and down. And you can maybe even say the Virgil's form hasn't been what he would want it to be. So yeah, every other position I could understand, but no centre-back would concern me. Especially if we have real ambitions to try to win the Champions League or the FA Cup. World of Naturalists said, if we don't get another centre-back in January and with things the way they are, would this be a throwaway season and at best us getting Champions League? Nothing seems to be going right so far. How do you see the season ending? So, I think you were with us last night, but I kind of had a eureka moment the day before yesterday where I just kind of accepted that it's going to be a muddled season where it's probably going to be inconsistent. There'll be wins, there'll be drop points, and I'm going to have to accept that as a fan. But I still stand firm that if we can get it right after Christmas for the Champions League knockout stages, that competition is there to be won. And I'm not saying we're the favourites for it, but we're as good as anybody else in it. So if we can get our shit together for the knockout stages of the Champions League, I still think the season's salvageable. An FA Cup win for me, it's an okay season if you do that and qualify for the Champions League. I mean, a trophy's a trophy. But ultimately, the two big ones are, where my heart is. You want the Premier, you want the Champions League. Premier League, I don't think we have the right to talk about a title race at the minute. So, Champions League, I think, is our best hope. And again, if we don't bring in the centre-back, that's my fear, is that, as you said, World of Naturalists, we're almost writing off another season. Jay, One Stop Red, how are we, Jay? Hey Craig, great show, mate. Thank you, sir. Do you think we'll see more future forward lineup when Salah goes to the AFCON? We definitely need a centre back coming in. Maybe Robbo could do a job. So Robbo probably could do a job, but then we're back to the conversation of, are we putting our best foot forward and doing a job? It's again taking somebody out of the natural position. Now, of course, Robbo does have experience doing it for Scotland, but I don't think he's tall enough really to play as a centre-back at Liverpool Football Club. That being said, of all the players that are there, he's probably the one I would feel most comfortable with. Others may say Endo, but for me, if Robbo's left side of a back three, with Kirkes ahead of him, Van Dijk in the centre and KONATE on the right, I could live with that somewhat. It would be my favourite option for shoehorning somebody into a position. More Forever Football said, is there a chance we sign Schlotterbeck in January? I really don't know much about the centre-back situation with regards to anything outside of Mark A, which of course we all know about. I don't really know what the situation is. We spoke about Schlotterbeck yesterday, and that it's looking more and more unlikely, according to Bild, that he'll sign a new deal at Dortmund. They did say, of course, that Bayern Munich are interested, and we have this mad kind of potential merry-go-round of centre-backs. Schlotterbeck, KONATE, Upamecano, Mark Gay. They could all or none change clubs over the next 6 months, 7 months. So, yeah, I'm kind of intrigued by all this is going. In my head, I kind of think Upamecano to Madrid, KONATE to Bayern Munich, and Gay to us. I don't know what happens with Schlotterbeck in that scenario, by the way, but that's my best guess at it. But there seems to be, a chance that maybe KONATE stays. And I've said many times, I have no problem if KONATE stays, as long as we go out and bring in another top quality centre back to compete with him. So if that's Mark Gay, happy days. I could absolutely live with a centre back quartet of Giovanni Leone, Gay, KONATE, and Virgil. That'd be fine for me. And then you look to the future. Also, an interesting piece that I read today, and I want to read this out to you because something in this I didn't know about, and I wondered if you did. So again, credit the Echo, even though I don't really like a lot of what they write. I'll always credit them for what I use. Liverpool have also got the potential option of recalling Jarell Quansah for Bayer Leverkusen further down the line, having negotiated a buyback clause into his £35 million move to the Bundesliga side this summer. Here's the part I didn't know about. It said, it's understood the England under-21 international has also penned a pre-agreed contract should he return to the Reds. So that's very, very interesting to me. So not only do we have the buyback option there, but according to the information that the Echo have, they say that he's already signed, because they say penned, so signed a pre-agreed contract if he does come back to Liverpool. So that deal's already been agreed and signed if Liverpool trigger the clause. That's very interesting because that makes it sound like the idea of him coming back is very possible, which would be really interesting because, he's getting experience with Leverkusen. Then we've got the Mark A situation. So, we could have a situation in a year's time where Quansah's in, Leone's in, Mark Gay's in, and then you've had an age refresh there as well with Virgil. Yeah, I just found it interesting because I did not know about the second part of that. I think we all knew about the buyback option, but I didn't know that there's a pre-penned or pre-signed agreement in there already if Liverpool do take up the option, which makes it feel like it's certainly something that they were very interested in doing when they did the deal with Leverkusen. Or why let him go? I guess the argument would be to give him a full season of playing week in and week out, which maybe with the standard he was at the time, maybe Arne didn't feel like he was ready in the Premier League yet for that. You know, the very first game of Arne's, of course, was against Ipswich Town, and we know what happened at halftime in that game. So maybe this was just like, let the kid go and play 55 games or whatever it is, and we'll get a better idea of his development then in a good quality league. So I think that's probably my best guess at it. Blah said we need 2 centre backs and a DM, not Vitinha, he's too expensive and didn't stand out at Wolves. Felix Nemecha at Dortmund, I like a tall and strong presence. So the only concern I would have about Vitinha is kind of similar to what you've raised there, Blah, and that I don't think he's a physical enough presence. He's not a Rodri, you know, he's not a Fabinho. So yeah, for me, I agree with you on that one. I wouldn't rule him out entirely because he's a very tidy footballer. And look, I wouldn't say the fact that he didn't stand out at Wolves means anything. Because again, look at Salah, look at De Bruyne. You know, football is littered with players who maybe didn't do it at one club at one particular time. And some footballers develop a little bit later than others. So maybe Vitinha just kind of, I don't know, something clicked in his head when he moved away and the game became more easy to him or something. I don't know. But I wouldn't rule him out. But I also 100% agree on the physicality side of it. What's this one? So, thank you, Keane. Keane just sent this on to me. Said from LFC Transfer Room for the post, credit them, and Corriere dello Sport, which said AC Milan will launch an attack at signing Joe Gomez from Liverpool as soon as the January window starts. Now, look, we know of their interest in Joe Gomez because it's a deal that they tried to get done at the end of the summer window and, you know, time ran out for everyone. But surely, to God, there's no way that Liverpool sell Gomez in January without having somebody coming in. That would just be beyond stupid. So, I have no idea if this is a speculative piece that suggests Milan's interest is still there or if there's been communication towards January. But something has to give there, right? If Gomez leaves, there's no way you can't bring in another centre-back. Like, it'd just be absolutely ridiculous. Now, here's what I'm going to say. We're all probably initially going to think, no way that's happening. But hear me out. Let's just say that Joe harbours an ambition of going to the World Cup. He's going to want to play. And he's going to want to play in a good quality league that Thomas Tuchel will pay attention to. So perhaps there is a world where Joe says, look, I'm not getting any football here at Liverpool. If Liverpool can bring somebody in, maybe they would let Joe go because Joe would want to play in a World Cup year. That's the only kind of potential I can see for that happening. But again, that is just putting 2 and 2 together and maybe coming up with 5. I don't know. It's the only possible outcome I can see that might make that happen for AC Milan. What are your thoughts on Harvey Elliott's situation at Villa, said Anthony Lowry. Firstly, thank you, Anthony, for the question. So I was lucky enough that a Villa fan popped into our chat the other day and we happened to be speaking about the Harvey Elliott situation. And, you know, I was saying, why on earth would a club bring a player in and then just not play him? And in credit to this Villa fan, they said to me, the problem was that Unai Emery didn't want him and Sancho, but the sporting director that has now left the club did want them. So Monchi must have wanted to bring them in, and clearly the manager didn't feel the same way, because that's the only thing. It makes sense what the gentleman said, and you know it's the only thing I can think of as to why Elliott isn't getting any time, because we said this yesterday, the whole point of Harvey Elliott moving away from Liverpool was to get game time. And he's getting as little at Aston Villa as he was getting at Liverpool. So it makes sense that he'd be unhappy. So what happens, I don't know. But I totally understand it from his perspective. If he's not getting minutes, then it's a pointless exercise, the loan. Joseph said, I genuinely can't understand the mentality of where it's not working out. So let me reiterate this, because people are going to label a lot of shit at me, as they always do, but I want it to be known, and I want it to be pretty clear. As I've always said, I have absolutely zero doubts about Florian Wirtz. Zero. Could not be more confident that he's going to work out. Nor do I think that the grief he's getting is fair. And let me explain and give you an example. So there was a stat that went out the other day that said, I think I might still have it here so I can read it out to you and I can say exactly what shithousery this is. There was a stat that went out the other day that basically said, in 11 games outside of Germany, Florian Wirtz has had no goals and no assists for Liverpool. And that piece was written with that phrase in because they know he had an assist when we played against Frankfurt. So they wanted to just beat him with that stick. So they said, outside of Germany, fucking randomly, Florian Wirtz has had no goals or assists for Liverpool in the last 11. Come on. That's a bit shithouse. You know, he did have an assist in the Champions League. So to cherry pick, take that stat out just to make him sound worse, that's the kind of narrative I'm talking about. Stephen Graham said 150 million though. What's 150 million? Because he wasn't. You know, if you're talking in euros, I can't remember what it was, but I think the fee was £116 million. And I've no doubts. Look, I'm watching football long enough that I know sometimes people take time to settle in. And Florian Wirtz is a clear example of somebody who is taking time to settle in. But I want it on the record that I have no doubts that this kid will make it. Absolutely zero. I'm fully behind Florian Wirtz. I'm fully behind the signing. And yet, like everybody else, I would have loved him to hit the ground running. But on this occasion, when I hear the manager saying things like he's been unlucky, I think he's right. I think he's right. And I will defend Florian Wirtz against any crap he gets. Not from Liverpool fans. I don't mean it that way. But from the outside, because, you know, just take one look at the kid playing football and you'll know it will click and he will be a star. So for me, like I've said, I have no concerns. I'm frustrated like everybody else. You know, obviously we all want him to hit the ground running and be amazing from day one. But it's okay. It'll take time. But next season, I think we're talking very differently. And I'm not saying it's going to take the next season, but I think we'll revisit this conversation. Because I remember these conversations. We've had them over the years about other Liverpool players. We've had them about Dominic Szoboszlai. We've had them about Fabinho when he first came in. He didn't play, I think, for 4 to 6 months properly. Adam Lallana. I remember these conversations. So, yeah, as I said, I've no fear of the kid not working out. I think he's too good not to. Shrimpy said, it's not Wirtz, it's the slow tactics with midfielders swamping his area, giving him no space to operate in. I think somebody asked me a question earlier on about the formation. I think I forgot to really answer the gentleman, so I'm going to do that now. I do think that when Mo's at the AFCON, there's a good chance we switch formation somewhat to get the most out of Wirtz and to get Isak and Ekitike on the pitch together. How that looks exactly, I'm not sure, but 2 strikers with him in behind in the hole. That's what I imagine this happening. And how the rest of the team sets up around that, I'm not sure. But that's his position. He needs to be given the role with a bit of freedom to wander. Now he still has to do his defensive work, of course, but he needs space. If we're picking a guy out to build a team around, I'm saying it's him. I'm saying right now, right here, it's him. Build a team around him, not Mohamed Salah, because Mohamed Salah's time at the club, you know, it's tapering down and he's still a really important player, but he's not the future. We got to look at the future. The future is Rio Engamoa, Florian Wirtz, Hugo Ekitike, Connor Bradley, Milos Kerkez. They're the future. So let's start building that team now, particularly in the league, I think. Particularly in the league where, let's be honest, we ain't winning the title as it sits. So that's where I'm at. Start to look to the future and build a team around who's going to be here in 2, 3, 4, 5 years. I know that sounds really harsh and almost counterproductive, but we've a really good opportunity to do it when Salah's at the AFCON, because then there's no fallout. You know, there's no he was dropped. He ain't here for that. So it gives us a perfect time to try it, in my opinion. Nathan Green, how are we, Nathan? So I read somewhere that Liverpool are looking a new formation that includes both Ekitike and Isak. Well, yes, but you could also make an argument that you could use Ekitike on the left. But truth is, he has to do something now, right? He has to find a way to make all of this work and knit together. Actually, speaking about the future, Liverpool posted this earlier on, so I just want to give the man his credit. An assist from Rio and a full 90 minutes for training only as England beat Lithuania in their under 19 Euro qualifier. So well done to both gents. Rio for the assist, of course, and training only and playing the full 90. More invaluable minutes in their education. Sci-Fi said, yes. Build it around Wirtz and use Fede. We love you, Fede. Look, I agree. Because we have to. We can't just keep trying to figure out how to make it work with Salah. I just think that's the wrong perspective to look at now. Of course, you try to include Salah in the team. I'm not saying we bench Salah all the time. But I think you got to look towards not how do we get the ball to Salah, how do we build a team around Salah. I think now we have to be honest with ourselves and say we need to start building it around your Wirtzes, your Ekitikes, your Isaks, because that's the future. J1 said, it makes you laugh. Every other Premier League team would love to have Wirtz. Okay, the lad isn't making his mark, yeah, but no doubt he will. I think really do miss Diaz, to be fair. Most direct player we had. There's no denying we're missing Diaz, mate. You know, you're spot on. Yeah. But on the other thing, again, it's just common sense, isn't it? Build a team around Wirtz. Build it around him and make him feel £1 million. Make him feel $1 million, as the Americans would say, and give him that confidence that we're building this team around you. That's how much we believe in you. Go do your thing. Go show everybody who you are and why we bought you. Martin said Wirtz should have about 6 assists by now, at least. Assists need 2 players, the passer and the finisher. He can't assist and take the same chance. Exactly. And he could have had a goal as well if Salah had squared that ball. If Salah had squared a ball, simple ball across the 6-yard box, Wirtz would have had a tap in and he'd had a goal. And as you've pointed out, Martin, correctly, as has the manager, as has the German manager, he's been unlucky because wasteful finishing has probably cost him a few more assists. Catherine said poll on formation. I don't think it's. I don't see the point of the poll, Catherine, on formation because it's irrelevant. Because we don't know what's going to happen. I'm not trying to say it's a silly question, but I'm trying to say is we'll all have an opinion, we'll all have a variation of it. But I think the fairer question would be if the manager starts using a new formation, what we think of that. So maybe just hang off on it for a little bit. Because I don't understand, 4-3-3, 4-4-2. It's all... Yeah. I think we focus too much on the formation and not the tactics, because it's the tactics I think the manager needs to figure out here. And yes, that will probably see a formation tweak, but we'll find out soon enough, because we're about a month away from Salah heading off to the AFCON. Do we get Isak poll? Oh, Nathan, how many of them do we run in the summer, dude? I mean, it had to have been 50, right? It had to be. I feel like every night we were running, do we sign Isak? Well done. I am Raynex. You're the first United fan ever to come in, mate, and say United. Brilliant. You've showed us, mate. Well done. Never seen that done before. How unique. In all honesty, mate. Come in and tell us how you're feeling about the season. You're very welcome in. I'm only joking with you. Look, it's a weird situation for me seeing United above us on goal difference, dude. It's mad. I don't think he'll be there at the end of the year, but yeah, it's a mad old time. God, being bantered by United fans. Is this how bad things are getting right at the minute? Is this how bad we are? Jesus. Right. What was this one? So there's a couple of players, by the way, who are one booking away from suspension. So Conor Bradley and Dominic Szoboszlai have both got 4 Premier League bookings now. So if they pick up one more booking before the 19th game, they're going to be suspended for a game. So keep that in mind as well. This piece here from Fabrizio Romano said there are talks ongoing between Liverpool and Ibrahim KONATE over a new contract, but the defender has still not made the decision. Liverpool are waiting. How much longer do we play the waiting game with KONATE? Because in 6 weeks' time, he's able to sign a pre-contract agreement with anybody outside the Prem. So I don't know how much longer the Reds can wait here. I think it's got to be sussed out one way or the other soon. Lee said, what would Klopp say now? In what sense, bro? In what sense? And by the way, Lee, it was lovely meeting you at the live show. Lee was kind enough to come along to the show. It was nice meeting you, man. What do you mean by what would Klopp say now? In what scenario? Like to coming back or to something else? Glyn Powell said, no point in wasting money. Get rid of slots. Spend is taking Liverpool backwards. So, look, I understand your frustration, Glyn, because I'm as frustrated as you are. But I don't think it's the time yet. Because I don't think it's been proven one way or the other that the signings have been a success or failure yet. So, for me, the thing that's going to make me say, time for the manager to go, and this is just me, if I think the players have stopped playing, then I'll say, this is a problem. But 3 games in the last week, 2 of them we've showed up, and 1 of them we absolutely did not. Now, it's pissed me off, Glyn, why we didn't show up against Man City, because I don't really have an excuse for the players for it. It's not tiredness. They have plenty of time to recover. 5 days, 1 more than Manchester City. So how do you go from playing Villa and Real Madrid, winning them both and looking like we're far more full of energy, to then dropping off? So if a couple more defeats come in the games we have coming up, because let's be honest, they're not the worst fixtures coming up. If we don't pick up points in these, and a lot of them are at home, then I'm going to have questions, mate. You're going, are the players down in tools for the manager? Because that to me is the big flashing light of amber danger. If the players look like they ain't running the hard yards and ain't putting in a shift for the gaffer, that's what I'm going to say. That's the time, you know. Anthony Lowry, how are you, sir? Craig, you've no idea how much... when I was reading this, Anthony, I thought, Craig, you've no idea what you're talking about. Honestly, I thought that's what the comment was going to be, but it's not. You're much kinder than that. You said, Craig, you've no idea how much these streams mean to me and everybody in the chat. Keep up the good work. So, somebody posted a comment earlier on going, yeah, please show up for the 8:45 for my 18th video of the day. And I'm thinking, it's actually my second. I did a video of 4 or half 4 and a video now. And also, why do people moan about that? Like, if you think there's too much content on any channel, just don't watch some of it. You know, people are just so quick to be snarky and moan at you about everything. You know, another lad, like you were on the stream last night and I sat here and I said, I explained the thumbnail titles all the time and I said, look, don't ever think that these stories are all a fact. These are discussion points and they're not my stories. So I go on today and I'm reading through the comments, trying to drop a few likes and respond back to a few people. And the first comment that catches my eye is, you've linked us to this player, this player, this player, this player, this player, and none of them happen. Stop. And I'm thinking, well, I'm not linking us with these players, mate. I'm reading journalist work and we're having a conversation about it. But it made me laugh because we spent so long talking about it last night. World of Naturalists, so we seem to be throwing away Premier League games. Not a good look. Not sure if Slot is going to bother with the FA Cup. He doesn't seem keen the FA Carabao Cup. Slot did say Champions League was the target. See, this is where I get wound up as a fan, because it's fair enough for the manager to say, you know, the Carabao Cup isn't a priority, but tell that to the, 60-odd thousand people who paid their money to be there, who travelled to be there, who booked their flights to be there, their trains to be there, the hotels to be there. So this is what annoys me. It's all very well and good saying we need to rotate heavily and put out weakened squads, but you're kind of taking the piss out of the people who are paying their money to go and see Liverpool. And I feel there's a duty to always put out a team to win every game. And normally you'd say a manager puts out weakened teams with a strong bench in the League Cup, and they think if necessary they'll bring the subs on. But there's nothing about that squad he selected for that League Cup that had any hope of winning that game. None. It was an absolute piss take of a squad with no chance of winning that game. And that to me was hugely disrespectful to fans who paid their money and travelled to that game. So if we see something similar in the FA Cup, I will be equally as annoyed by it, because we have 4 trophies every year. 4 that Liverpool can win, or any team can win if they're lucky enough to be in Europe. It's a bit arrogant to start throwing them away and writing them off. There's 4 every year. That's it. That's the trophies. They all matter to me. You know, and of course there's priorities. You want a Premier Champions League over a domestic trophy, but it's still a trophy. It's still a trip to Wembley. It's still another number on the wall of the history of this football club. And winning is a habit. Winning trophies is a habit. So this all matters to me as a fan. And I always do feel for the fans that are paying their money, travelling around. And if I had showed up to that game and I had gone over for that trip and I seen that squad, my heart would have sank when I seen it. Craig, my wife said the only thing worse than Liverpool's performance is my guitar playing. Should I sack the missus? Well, I don't know. I have to hear your guitar playing before I can answer that. She might be right. My son's actually started to take guitar lessons over the past couple of months. Daddy here has no musical talent, but my brother-in-law is a supremely talented musician. So, I don't know, stick with the guitars and maybe you become good enough that you win a round. I don't know. But yeah, keep at it, and thank you for watching. Much love to you and your wife. Mark Doherty, how are we, Mark? Said, Craig, do you think the criticism of Isak is fair, and how concerned are you about how isolated our strikers are? The lack of width is a problem, and there's no vision from midfield. Really, really good comment, Mark. Thank you. Am I concerned about the criticism? He's the one that I'm struggling the most to figure out if I should be concerned or not, Mark. Because we haven't seen all that much of him. We always knew, in my mind, I thought after the October international break, that's probably when we're going to see Isak play more and more. But he had that groin strain, injury, whatever you want to call it. So he's the one I think I can't tell you whether I'm worried about him or not, because I don't know. I don't think I have enough of a sample size of seeing Isak out there on the pitch to really know. Ultimately, I think we do look disjointed. And when he has played, we haven't looked like we know how to best get the ball to him. I agree with you as well, what you said about the lack of width and pace in wide areas. So I'm not worried yet. But you have to see, like, he's the one where you ask, did we have a plan when we signed him? Like, what was the plan to get him the ball? Because it doesn't look like we know it at the minute. So, yeah, probably the one I'm most concerned about of the big money signings, but still don't think it's fair enough to judge just yet. Would you take Sarr from Palace? I think he'd be great. Absolute pace. We know we're looking for him. We looked at Ismaila Sarr before. I think when he was at Watford, if I remember correctly. I just think there are better options out there than him. Yeah, I think there are better options. And again, that would be another AFCON player, if I'm not mistaken. So, you know, if possible, not losing a player mid-season would be preferable. You've got Malik Fofana there from Belgium. You've got Elise is a bit more of a hypothetical one, obviously, but Fofana will move soon. We've got Semenyo, whose name comes up in conversation. Actually, on Semenyo, where's this piece? This one here. Again, from Romano, he said, it's very unlikely that Liverpool signed Semenyo in January. Now, of course, there was a piece from Independent that said that Semenyo had asked Bournemouth to leave in January, which I always thought was a bit far-fetched considering he just signed a new deal. But there's another one from Gazzetta Italia that said Liverpool are interested in signing Serge Gnabry on a free transfer when his contract at Bayern Munich comes to an end in June 2026. I don't for 1 second believe we're interested in Serge Gnabry. Not for 1 second. Now, I'm not saying this from a point of view of having information. I just don't believe it. It just doesn't make sense to me that Serge Gnabry is somebody we're looking at on a free transfer. It just doesn't add up to me. Right, so question we've asked in the poll tonight, if you haven't voted yet, is will you be happy with no January signings because Romano believes we're in for a quiet January? Lee Jericho said, I hope Klopp would tell him. My team wouldn't do this. You, Mark, was fantastic. My family loved it. Big Dreadslaw, my wife loves watching you. Even when we're in caravan, this is the best. Thank you, Lee. Yeah, look, Kloppo would certainly be in the dressing room telling a few home truths. I think we spoke about that last night, Lee. And that's one thing with Arna I struggle to connect with him on. I'm far more shouty, angry, emotional person, so I'm more like Jurgen Klopp in that regard. And the more measured approach from Arna, it concerns me when things aren't going well. So yeah, I'd love to have a camera in that dressing room to really see if he goes in and gives them the treatment when we're not playing well. 60s Red said, Craig, do you seriously think we will make signings in Jan? The only one that I'm going to be annoyed about if we don't sort it out with centre-back, because it's a huge problem in the making. Let's say KONATE picks up a muscle strain that keeps him out for 6 weeks. We're screwed. We're screwed. It's Virgil and Gomez and that's it. Then we're into shoehorning players out of position again, maybe putting in Gravenberg there, maybe putting in Endo there. And they weren't signed at Liverpool to be centre-back. So, yeah, I think it would be foolish of us not to bring in a centre-back. The other positions I can absolutely understand if we want to wait until the summer when maybe the right guys are available. But we simply need depth at centre-back. We really, really do. Because if we have any ambitions of winning something this season, I think we've got to assume that when we're playing Virgil and KONATE as much as we are, that there's a fairly increased chance they're going to pick up a knock. Sam said more signings after spending nearly $500 million. Yeah, but we need a centre-back, mate. Yeah, we didn't get the centre-back that we tried to get at the end of the window. So we still need a centre-back one way or the other. Yeah. So, if we had got Mark A in the summer, that had worked out, I'd have been fine with nothing in January. But as it sits, I just think we need one. Craig, are you currently feeling how you were before the Villa win? A bit better than the same or worse? No, I'm okay. I'm okay because, like I said, we've seen a reaction from the players from Villa. We've seen a reaction from the players for Real Madrid. But, loads of us had this conversation building up to the Manchester City game where it's not so much if you lose, it's how you lose. And we lost with a whimper. Like, we were second best everywhere. And that could have been, higher. So, yeah, that's concerned me a little bit. If we had went out, let's say, and lost that game 2-1, something like that, and you put up a decent show, and it's never a disgrace to lose at the Etihad to a Pep Guardiola team, but losing in the manner we did, it was concerning. And of course, these things always time when you go to the international break, don't they? So then you have to sit on it and dwell on it for 2 weeks until you have the chance to put it right against Forest. Now, the last time we had to sit and dwell on it for 2 weeks, and then we went and lost at home to United. And that was a particular low this season because, like I said, the manager had 2 weeks to figure that out. And then we still put in an abject performance against United. I am Rainex's rage baiting. Well, he's not making me angry. So if he's trying to rage bait me, he's not working. It's not working because I just took it in his face. Sometimes rage baiting works with me. Like, it's fair to say I do bite sometimes, but I'm in a good mood. So I'm trying not to be angry at anyone. Right, let's talk about Sport Build and an RB Leipzig player. This said that Liverpool are showing interest in RB Leipzig's Jan Diamonde, 18 years of age. The young left winger has impressed during a short period at the club and is considered to be one of the greatest talents in Europe. Leipzig want to profit significantly from his transfer and want to make him their record transfer higher than Josko Gvardiol's £80 million. That's, you'd want to be some player to be spending more than 80 million on an 18-year-old with a handful of first-team football appearances. I, again, know nothing of him, not watched anything. So, 6 losses in a row. Right, what's your point? I am Raynex. If you're a United fan, mate, and you're coming in to try and banter us, I'll give you the chance to leave before, Actually, do you know what? Just fuck off. Because you're not annoying me. You're annoying other people in the chat. So, yeah, enjoy that, mate. And it wasn't 6 losses in a row in the league. But look, we'll be concerned as Liverpool fans about our form. Don't worry about that. You just worry about the leaking roof at Old Trafford and, the fact that even after spending the money you did on the forward line, you're still not very good. Even at our very worst, lowest point, we're still like level with you. And this is us like angry at how bad we are. Like, couldn't have gone any worse. And we're still level on points with you. And we have Champions League football to play as well, which, is lovely, quite frankly. But, Grimsby? Imagine getting knocked out to fucking Grimsby. Grimsby, like, come on now. There's no room for banter here, dude. Just seen Slaughterbeck's highlights, and I liked how aggressive he is and full of grit. Obviously, just the highlights, but still. Yeah. Look, I don't know much about Slaughterbeck. I'll be honest with you to say that. I like you. I've seen a few highlights, but highlights could make me look good. So look, I just want a centre back. Just get me a fucking centre back. We went out to Plymouth. I know, mate. I know. But we also won the league that year. Are you forgetting that? We went to Plymouth last year, but won the league. Do you think United are going to back it up by winning the league this year? No. So, like I said, context. And we won the league, got to a cup final, and we're beaten in the Champions League by the eventual winners on penalties. So, all good. We need experience signings, no more could-be's. Well, I mean, I don't think we just signed could-be's. I mean, I would say every player we signed has a decent level of experience. Wirtz has won the league in Germany and is an international. Isak is, 25, 26 years of age, an experienced international, Premier League proven. Kirkes, yes, 1 season, but still a good spell of football in a few different countries. Frimpong, same as, Wirtz, plenty of pedigree there. So I don't think we just did sign could-be's. I think we signed good players. Some of them in their prime, some of them coming into potentially their prime in the next 2 years. So yeah, it's the signing of, like, let's say Rio. Let's say bringing in Rio and then begrudging the forward line of a winger for now because you don't want to block a pathway through, but yet won't play Rio. That's the type of situation that winds me up. Because if Rio's going to be the Diaz replacement, then give him the minutes. Or stop telling us that he's a Diaz alternative. Because if you sold Diaz and didn't replace him, and don't even replace him with the minutes of Rio, then you've just fucked yourself. That I find very weird. Isak's international career is not the best, to be honest. You're not getting the point, though. My point is about experience. And I really couldn't give a shit if Sweden never win a game of football again. But playing for a country, playing in, qualifiers and stuff, it adds to your experience. It adds to, you're going different environments, different hostile atmospheres, different formations, different styles to play against, different refereeing. It's all important. And again, let's not forget Isak, how good he was at Newcastle. And, if we can get him to hit that form, it's going to be exciting. World of Natural said, we also need players who are bigger and more aggressive. Our players seem to be smaller and less aggressive compared to many other clubs. Yes and no. I mean, look at that Barcelona team under Pep Guardiola that was all conquering. Take out maybe Sergio Busquets, hardly the biggest team in the world. Even Carlos Puyol, Mascherano when he was playing at centre-back at one point. Xavi, Iniesta, not big players. Messi. So, look, what I think is that we just need to have more energy and an identity. And if he moves away from the pressing identity, I think he's foolish. Because that's in the DNA of a lot of these players. And it's the way we should play because it suits us. So Arne needs to figure that out, and quickly. I feel like sometimes I don't know who fans are in the chat, you know, whether Liverpool fans or United fans when I'm looking through names. Some of you I know, of course, each night. Some of you, I'm not really sure. Maybe you're newer in. But there seems to be a lot of writing off of our own players at the minute, which I would urge my fellow Liverpool fans not to do. You know, others are going to try and do that for us. Let's us not help them along with it. Let's believe in these guys. Like, there are players who are playing shit. That fair enough. It's alright to call them that. But the new guys that brought in, give them a bit of patience. Give them a bit of time. Like, it's frustrating, yes, but they came here because they want to succeed, and they came here, in Wirtz's case, with his pick of clubs around Europe, and he wanted to come to Liverpool. So, you know, let's not do the dirty work for opposition fans for them. Let's get behind them and believe in them. You know, writing anybody off in November from a new signing, it's just madness. The same way to overpraise somebody. Like, if I'm not sitting here saying Ekitike is going to be a Ballon d'Or winner because he's had a good start to life with us, I wouldn't go the other direction either. It's frustrating that some of these guys haven't hit the ground yet, but again, we did not sign poor players. We signed good players. It just hasn't clicked yet. Yuri said, excuse me if I mispronounced that, mate, said Slot needs to accept we're playing in a league that's becoming increasingly physical and reliant on set pieces. It is, yes. And even if you look at Guardiola, he's somewhat changed tact. You know, look at the difference of goalkeeper he has there now with Gianluigi Donnarumma versus Ederson before him. So yeah, that's fair. And it is a physical league. The Premier League is a physical league, and this year, you're right, it's become even more physical. But that's why I'm very confused about why we're so poor at defending set pieces, because, like, look at our two centre-backs. They're two big dudes. And if you look at our midfield, even Gravenberg, he must be, 6 foot? Close to that. So we have players who should have that physical edge, but we're just not seeing it. Now, we don't have enough pace in the team, for my particular opinion. We don't have enough dribblers in the team who can take a man on. So, again, at the moment, it just feels like none of us know what the hell we're looking at. None of us know what the hell to expect. None of us know the best Liverpool setup under Arne, because he's broken up the machine. I guess the question is, can he reassemble it in a new way? So I'm more concerned about the manager than I am about the new players, because the manager got all his new toys. Now he's got to make it work. Nothing wrong with criticism of the players, mate. It's not criticism to say they're shit or we bought a dud. That's not criticism. That's just hate. And if you're saying to me nothing wrong with criticism, dude, who are you talking to, you know? I criticize all the time. But I try to do it in a way that I emphasize the particular moment, or, like, you're right, there's nothing wrong with being critical of players, but we also have to give the new ones time. You know, football is littered with people who took time. For me, the ones that I'm more annoyed at are the players who are already here, who know the standards, who know what they should be doing. You said, but what you will see is the same part-time fans that slagged Szoboszlai 2 years ago, but now worship him slagging Wirtz. That, sir, spot on. I couldn't agree more, because that's what's happening. The same arseholes that when things are great, it's all great, and when things are bad, get out of my club. That type of shit. They annoy me, because, look, I get angry, but I get angry about individual performances. I don't get angry about writing a player off that's just come in the door. That's madness to me that people do that. Trust me, the players don't believe in him. It's time to go. Look, and let's ask that. I think, because that's a fair question. So let's ask that. So 78% said they would be unhappy if we didn't make a signing in January. 13% said that they would be happy enough if we didn't, and then unsure 9%. So let's ask about the question that you said there about Slot. Right, so simple question. Do the players believe in Slot in your view? So, do you think the players believe in Arne Slot? Yes or no? And we'll see when it comes back in, because, you know, we can all have our say here, but it is a consensus when we ask the question and we get a large answer. We'll get a large group and we have a better idea of how people are feeling. So, yeah, let's see what that one shows when we revisit it in a while. Cheryl said, I'm from Bootle, Craig, and I read all my life. He's given me Rodgers and Hodgson vibes. Klopp's built it from Rodgers, but we're going backwards after 500 million spent. So, look, I get where you're coming from, and I do. Like, would I say I'm solely convinced now by Arne? This is my honest answer, Cheryl. I'm less convinced now than I was last year. And one thing I defended him against a lot last year was this idea that it was just Jurgen's team and that he got lucky. I tried to say, yes, it was partly that, but also I think it was his ability to keep players fit. And I think that got us over the line. But I don't think the examples you've given there are the most ridiculous, because I can get it. I can get where you're coming from. I'm not fully sold on how ruthless he is. And I want to see more. Because I get the Brendan Rodgers one in particular, because I found Brendan Rodgers extremely cringy. That 3 envelope shit, it was just, yeah, it was just David Brent level stuff. So I do get where you're coming from, but it's going to come down to whether the players believe in him or not. You know, because he has to prove himself. And if he doesn't prove himself, I absolutely get what you're saying. But it's his chance now. And, you know, he's probably earned the right to have a season of transition to prove that he can build this new team. But if we're not seeing signs of it, you know, when do the owners push the panic button? How far down the league table would we have to slip? I don't know the answer. It's kind of a rhetorical question. I did see another comment from you there a second ago. Let me just read it out. Slot won with Klopp's team. He has a little credit, but no more than a little. So, look, I also don't believe too much in credit in the bank stuff. Sometimes, yes. But I also, football is a what have you done for me lately business. You know, you can't live on nostalgia. And when you've spent £500 million, and I know that wasn't our net spend, I know that we brought in a good chunk of money as well, but the expectation level's raised, and rightly so. And I think there's been too much revisionism. So we all had a conversation this summer on the channel. What do we expect this year with the money spent? And every single one of us had some view of, we've got to win one of the big ones at least, and it'd be lovely to get a double. Now, there's a lot of people trying to accept some mediocrity. And I'm not somebody that accepts mediocrity or thinks it's acceptable at this football club, because it's a big football club. So, right now, I get it. I get that you don't believe in him. I get that someone does believe in him, and I'm somewhere in the middle. I want to support him, but I also need to see, like you've said, bro, progression. You've seen it all the time with Jurgen, Cheryl, and there was no doubt about that. It was there all the time. And it's a very unique time as well, because there's not many times we've seen a team win the Premier League and kind of rebuild off winning the Premier League and rip the team apart. You usually just add one or two in there, but this is probably the biggest shake-up of a title-winning team that I can remember in quite a while. Maybe you could look at Manchester City's, a few of their windows, and see there was quite a big change there. But he either proves himself or he doesn't, you know. If he doesn't prove himself, ultimately he'll get fired at some point. Black Russia said, also, you fire Slot, who's the next best alternative? It's not like there are 5 world-class managers looking for a club. It's another fair point, mate. You know, it's more than fair of you to say that. And I don't have the answer. I don't have a clue. Even if you said to me, Craig, and Donny Ariola, it's still a risk, because it's still another jump up. It takes a particular type of man or woman to come in and coach a club like Liverpool or Manchester United. an establishment. You've got to have a couple of things about you. You've got to have a presence. You've got to be able to carry the weight of this club. And you've got to have a bit of humility, which I think Arna has, to be fair. But it's also took us, like, Klopp got it, didn't he? Like, he just fucking got it. He got the city, he got the culture, he just got it. And I don't know if Arna has that same connection yet, or if he'll ever have a chance to do that, because I was watching a documentary earlier on about the flags and banners. It was on LFC TV, about the flags and banners and the art on the Kop, and you know the men and women that make all these amazing flags and banners. And one of the people were saying that basically Jurgen Klopp is just a modern day Shankly, and it's right. You know, I wasn't around for Shankly, but the way we've been educated about Shankly's time and the way the folklore has been built, it definitely does feel like Jurgen Klopp has come in and been that modern day Shankly. You know, that he grabbed the club by the scruff of the neck and just fucking dragged it along and got it to where it needs to be. With, of course, you know, everybody along the way, the owners, the players, the coaches. But yeah, Klopp was just, you know, if you could go into a factory and throw in ingredients for a Liverpool manager, it's going to come out looking very much like Jurgen Klopp. So Arne is a different man altogether. This is a good shout, Ollie. I like your shout, mate. I can't bring it up on screen because you're not a member, but you said I get Rafa vibes from him, and that is probably a far better comparison than the Brendan Rodgers one. Yeah, I think that's a good shout, because I can see where you're coming from. I love Rafa, but he was very pragmatic and he was very dogged at times in his answers. So I think that's a good shout, mate. I think that's a good shout. Now, I'm not saying style of football or anything, but I do get where you're coming from with that one, Ollie. Cal said, hi, mate. Had a lot going on recently with my mum passing, so just a note of thanks to you and this community. Hope you and your family are well and looking forward to Christmas season. This means more. Well, look, man, as we said before, so sorry for the passing of your mum, Cal. You are somebody who I remember being in the chat, dude, for a very long time here with us, a valued member of our community. And yes, it's Christmas might be tough, dude. You know, it's a time where we miss our loved ones that have left, but we're always going to be here, bro. If you ever want to come in for a chat or the vent, or you know you're missing your mum particularly, I'll be pretty much streaming all the way through Christmas. So if you need a Christmas Day stream and you want to come in and have a chat, man, I'll be here for you, because I feel a similar loneliness at that time of the year. I kind of lock myself away around Christmas because so much family history, tragedy, loss. So yeah, much love to you, bro, and thank you for asking about my family. They are all good. Craig, Klopp was a force of nature. Yes, he was. He was. He just, I don't know. There'll never be another Klopp in my lifetime for us, I think. So many times I turned around to my wife and I'd say something like, I can't believe Jurgen's Liverpool's manager. I can't actually believe this man is here and is our manager, because he could have told me to run into a burning building and I would have apologized for not running in sooner. Like, that's how amazing or how much esteem I hold Jurgen in. Lucas, how are we? Lucas Kun 7Z or Kunz said, do you think Slot had an agenda against Kwanzaa? He subbed him off before being able to win aerial duels, and now he's keeping KONATE that can't even pass and sprint. I would get Stevenson, who's on loan, back. So Steven, actually, a couple of things there. So we'll start with the Stevenson part. I read a piece the other day with Lucas Stevenson, who's at Dundee, I think, where he said he commits to the season, he's staying for the season. So he's no intention or want to come back, because he wants to give the season that he's committed to his team. Get that. Totally get that. On the part about Kwanzaa, I don't know if you were with us earlier on, but I was reading out something that popped up on the Echo about Kwanzaa, and it had a bit of information that I didn't actually know. So like you, I had a question whether Arna really believed in Kwanzaa or not, for a similar reason as yourself, and the fact that he didn't really get much game time or as much as we would have expected after being subbed off against Ipswich. So this piece here said, Liverpool have the potential of recalling Jarell Quansah from Bayer Leverkusen further down the line, having negotiated a buyback clause into his £35 million move to the Bundesliga side in the summer. It's understood the England under-21 international has also penned a pre-agreed contract should he return to the Reds. So the reason I bring that part up, mate, is because it seems like Liverpool maybe do have a plan to bring him back, because not only is that release clause built into his deal, but that said, he's already signed a pre-agreed contract for when he comes back, or if he comes back. So he must be in the thinking somewhere. Also, we achieved a very simple goal today, but something I've always wanted to do since we started the channel. We agreed to sponsor one of the underage teams in the town I'm in here. And it's a really proud moment. So we agreed to sponsorship to buy them a new set of kits and a few other bits and pieces. But it's something I always wanted to do with the channel when we got to a point that we could do what is try to give something small back to the local football community. And really happy that we're able to do that. So I'll show you the shirts when they're all done in that, but just really proud to be able to do that, to give something back to a community that's given a lot to me here in Wexford and Gorey. I love it. And when I say Gorey, it's actually Courtown Hibs. So yeah, looking forward to that, and just really happy, on behalf of our community, to be able to do something small like that for them, because it was done for me when I was playing football growing up as a kid. There was always a nice local business that would sponsor your kits, and it's lovely to be able to do that and see, our community being able to get a set of kits for a set of kids playing footy. So it's quite cool. Lee said, sorry for the all caps. If needs must, I hope Klopp will come for us. Don't know what the cost, no matter the sacrifice. I don't think Jurgen would come back, to be honest. Now, would I have him back? Yeah, fucking right, I would. I would, yeah, definitely. But I just don't think it's going to happen. So I haven't let myself kind of dream about it, Lee, because I don't think it's likely. Used to go there during my holidays during the summer. I think we all did, dude. Yeah, I'm old enough to remember the vibrating dance floor in the nightclub in Courtown. And like you, I spent many summers where my parents would have rented a mobile home in Courtown for a couple of weeks or something over the summer. So yeah, just as I said, it's just an absolute pleasure to be able to do it. And a big part of this for me is being able to do something nice, to give something back to just pay it forward, as they'd say. What was the shock like when Klopp left? Well, it was horrible for a couple of reasons, Peter. I was asleep in bed. It happened really early in the morning, and Drawdy and Connor had rang Sabrina to say, Jurgen's leaving. You got to get Craig up. I think it was like 11 in the morning or something. You got to get Craig up. And I remember Sabrina woke me up and said to me, Craig, you've got to get up and do a video. And then I'm thinking, oh, cool, like a big deal's about to happen or something. And then she said, Jurgen's leaving. And I thought, the fuck? What? Like, no, that's not, no. I couldn't believe it. And I came down and I opened my computer, bleary-eyed, start reading through the notes, and just dawned on me, shit, he's leaving. And it honestly felt surreal for, even knowing he was leaving as the season went on, it didn't dawn on me that he really is leaving. He's not going to be at Liverpool. It felt like I was grieving a mate or a family member. Like, I know the man's still alive and healthy, and hopefully has 50 more years on this planet. But yeah, it was it was tough. Never been impacted like that by somebody leaving the football club before in the same way. Never felt that same sense of fear, because it always felt all right with Jurgen. Something you figure it out. Like, Jurgen was there. Paul Driscoll said the timing of that announcement hit me for six. I'm the same, Paul. Absolutely, knocked the stuffing out of me, and did not expect it to. Did not expect it at all. Keane said, I laughed at the first notification thinking it was a fake account. I don't blame you. I wouldn't say you're on your own, Keno. I'd say many people, mate, looked at that and thought, nah, this can't be real. Sure, what was he at that point? He was only into a new deal by a year or a few months or something. Yeah, it just didn't feel real. Sci-Fi said, I cried when Klopp left. I think more people tuned into his leaving party than City's Premier League celebrations. That's respect. Yes, grieving is the correct word. It still makes me cry. Yeah. It's... this is going to sound really stupid, but I almost, when I seen Jurgen Klopp in person, because I was lucky enough when they came to Dublin, I had a press pass for the Aviva when Liverpool were playing in Dublin. So I was able to sit in the press conference front row and see Jurgen. And it was the first time I'd ever really... Oh, God, this is going to sound so fucking stupid. He was real. He's almost like a mythical cartoon figure or like a Santa Claus or something in your mind. Like he's this bigger than life thing that isn't just a human. And then I see him sitting there in front of me and I swear to God, he has an aura. And I was starstruck. And I've been around a few famous people and never felt shy at all. I couldn't even ask him a question. I was sitting there going, oh my God, he's real. This is Jurgen. He's every bit as magnificent as I wanted. And I just sat there in awe. This man was actually a human. He's like a superhero in my head. And he's just this human sitting there. Yeah, he just has that thing, that some people have. They walk into a room and they hold the room. He just has that thing. And when he laughs, everything just feels all right, It sounds so cringy and all, but honestly, I don't think I've ever felt that way about another man that wasn't my father. Yeah, loved him to bits. Arthur said, question here. Say if a club wins the Champions League but finishes in a Europa League spot, they don't automatically qualify for the Champions League, do they? They do. That got changed after the year we won it, and initially we weren't going to be able to defend our title, and I think we fucked Everton over that year, or else Everton went into a qualifier or something. Or no, we went into the qualifiers. But yes, if you win the Champions League, you automatically go back into the Champions League as the defending champion now, regardless of where you finish elsewhere. Misty said, I think I'd be the same. If we got anywhere close to Klopp, I wouldn't believe my eyes. So on the same couple of days, Manchester United were playing, and the press passes gave me press passes for both games. So Mourinho was the United manager at the time. And I asked Mourinho a question in the press conference, and I felt nothing. I felt no nervousness seeing Jose Mourinho sitting there in front of me because, he's, again, a huge presence in football, but it was just Jurgen. I've been around other managers and other players, and normally when you meet these people, you realise very quickly that they're the same as you and I. They're humans. They've got the same fears as you, hopes, aspirations. But with Jurgen, it didn't feel like that. It felt like he was just meant to be on this earth to do something special. He was superhuman. When do you think Klopp will be in Premier League Hall of Fame? Oh, I don't know, mate. I don't know. Is there a rule about how long you have to be gone from the Prem before you can go into it or not? Yeah, I don't know. That old joke where you say, if Klopp was in the bed with the missus and you went in, you'd ask him, did you want a cup of tea? I wasn't short of that. I honestly wasn't far away from that. Yeah. Sorry for disturbing you. Sorry, I'll turn the light off on my way out. Crack on. I wasn't far off that kind of level of adoration, which is why it killed me when we couldn't go to the farewell. We never really reach out to the club for too much to try and get anything because, well, I don't think they like me very much. But apart from that, we reached out that time asking could we buy a couple of tickets to the farewell show, and they just ignored us. And we sent another email and they ignored that. And That's the only time I've ever felt any kind of resentment around the fact that I don't get any acknowledgement from the club at all. That was the only time that it really got to me. I just thought, I fuck, just let me go be in the audience to say goodbye, because that man means so much. And yeah, I've seen others, who were able to have interviews with him, and I believe that was because you're going to build a relationship up with these guys over their own time, and that's fine as well. But just that sucked. That really did sting. It's the first time I ever really felt like an outsider, was when they just ignored us. Because when I say we wrote an email, I mean Connor put together a fucking spectacular email, spelling out a lot of stuff, and it wasn't answered, and nor was the second one answered. And yeah, that just still doesn't sit well with me, because it would have meant a lot. Hey Craig, Liverpool should have kept the core players and added new players one at a time, strengthen important positions only, like defence, just one forward. I don't know, man. I don't know about that, Lolly, because look at who left. I think if we were to sit here now and say, what mistakes did we make in the transfer market this summer? I think we're going to say Diaz, right? And we'll probably all agree on that one. Outside of selling Lucho, I don't really think there's anybody else that we should have kept. So I don't. Yeah, I think it's maybe easy for us to sit here and say that now, but in the summer I was absolutely buzzing with the business we'd done, and outside of Diaz, who I felt wanted to leave anyway, I don't really have any regret about who we moved on or who we didn't move on. Yeah, I just think the fact we didn't get a centre back in over the line, you can look at that and think, do we leave it too late? Were we trying to be a little bit too clever there with the whole Mark A situation? But apart from that, I don't really have too much regrets about the business Liverpool did with regards to outgoings in the summer. I could understand most of it for varying different reasons. Like Kelleher, he just wanted to play week in, week out. Same with Harvey Elliott. Darwin, look, it just wasn't working out for anybody at that point, so that was understandable. Kwanzaa, well, if the manager didn't want to play him, again, I can understand it. So yeah, like I said, I don't think we did overdo it. I think maybe we didn't build out the squad enough depth-wise. Maybe we're still 2 or 3 squad players short. Do you miss Diaz or Mane more? Mane. Yeah, Mane. I love Sadio Mane. And honestly, when I think about levels at the club, I don't really have too much of a gap between Salah and Mane in my mind. Like, Salah's just above, but I think what Sadio Mane did, and the humility that he shows and showed, yeah, he's a special guy, special player, and very, very grateful that we got to see him at Liverpool. And a damn fine human being as well. So yeah, I'm not saying Diaz isn't, by the way, but yeah, Sadio Mane, definitely in that one. Craig is a man crush on Jurgen Klopp. No doubt about it, mate. No doubt about it. Yeah, definitely. I don't do kind of googly-eyed blubberiness. I'm fairly good at seeing famous people and being able to just chat and not be overwhelmed. But nah, not with Klopp. I was an absolute fanboy to the extreme. Right. Let me just read through. Footy Insider have been speaking a little bit about the possibility of Bastoni, and this is what they had to say. Liverpool would need to pay at least £80 million if they're to complete the signing of reported transfer target Alessandro Bastoni from Inter Milan. This kind of plays into what we seen the other day, the stories linking £88 million moves. So, look, I don't think we get Bastoni, but I think we'd all take Bastoni in a heartbeat if he was available. Right, so, question. Do the players believe in Slot in your view? Yes or no? It's very close. So every vote really will count on this one. So if you can't, let us know. I don't know where I'd be on it. I'm probably in the middle. Because I do. I feel like a few people maybe feel a little bit like doubtful in that dressing room. I do feel that there is a possibility that a couple of people may have some doubts. So yeah, I'm on the fence on it. I want to believe that they're all behind the manager still, and certainly I'm not at the point where it looks like they've down tools, but I don't know. I think there's going to be some resentment in the Salah side of things if he starts to get tapered down. I think that can become a future issue. I do think there may be something to the fact that, we've got Salah, Isak, Ekatike, Wirtz, who are all the guy at their own club. And now they're all kind of jostling for position in the dressing room. I think there's probably some truth to that. And then I think you've got players maybe who, like I said, Chiesa, who feel like, what the hell do I have to do here to really get a chance? So I think that there could be some doubts in there. Lolly said Klopp had fire until the players, the club, the fans. Yeah, 100%, mate. He just got it, and we all were swept up and went along the ride with him. Fans always talk about Alex Ferguson, but Bob Paisley was just as good. He was, but before my time, Paul. Before my time. World of Naturalist said, I think nothing improves. The players won't have much faith in Slot as time passes. No player wants to be in this position after winning the league titles last season. Something has to change. So I remember, World of Naturalist, some quote from Virgil towards the end of last season, before we really knew what the transfer market was going to look like. And he said, I have faith that the club will bring in the right players. And I don't think any of us can really look at the signings and think that we signed shit players. There are a few outliers who maybe feel we have, but I think most of us are of the belief that these players will find their way eventually and come good. But I do wonder now if they're thinking, does the manager have the plan to knit this all together? Is it just a natural process of new players coming in and it being a bit disjointed? Because, like I said, there's no identity to this team. There's none. No identity, and that is a concern for me. Because not knowing what way the team's supposed to play or what our identity is very strange after having a very concise, clear understanding of what way we wanted to play with Jurgen. We knew it. We were going to go out and we were going to enforce our will on you. We were going to beat you down mentally, and we were going to cause chaos and find a way. And we did, more often than not. But with Arne, even in the best of times last season, we were still sitting here talking about slow starts. Why are we starting so slow? Why aren't we up in their faces? Why is it taking till the second half? And now this season, we still don't have that same relentlessness in our pressing and in our aggression. And we're not seeing the tweaks making differences at half times either. So, the more I talk about this situation now, the more I'm probably worried about the instructions or belief in the dressing room. The hopeful guy said, Craig, those seasons from 17 to 20 were so good to watch. Liverpool and City were just so good. Unbelievable battle in the Prem. Yeah, and ridiculous numbers being put up as well. Bobby said, any news on Bajcetic? He was training the other day, so I hope I don't know how far away from maybe getting minutes he is, but certainly images of him in and around the AXA training, so hopefully not too far away from seeing him get a chance. He really unlucky not to get a pre-season though, because we could have done with him this season, right? So yeah, hopefully we see him soon. But how much game time Arne will give him at a pre-season, I wouldn't hold my breath at this moment in time. Not based off what he's done with other players who haven't had pre-season. So, who's your favourite non-European Liverpool player? Also, are you planning on doing a watch-along for the Ireland game tomorrow? No watch-along tomorrow for the Ireland game. I'm actually going to start the stream at 9 o'clock tomorrow to give people a chance to watch at least the first half of the game. And then I'm taking Saturday and Sunday off live streaming. Who's my favourite non-European Liverpool player? Bobby Firmino. Yeah, Bobby Firmino. Yeah, very easy question, that one. Bobby Firmino, then Mohamed Salah, then Alisson Becker. Yeah, those three. But yeah, Bobby. Man, I love Bobby. Itachi said, like the idea of playing a back three, Wirtz on number 10, Isak and Ekitike up front for the future, with Frimpong and Kirkes as wing backs. The 4-2-3-1 doesn't fit anymore. Well, I think you were with us for this earlier on, but Ben Spochak posted something about, where was it? Here it is. So we said this, just talking to at LFC Approved, and it seems like Liverpool's under 21s are playing a back three tonight. Very interesting. Wouldn't be surprised if we saw this trialed, with the senior side after the international break. And it will be interesting to see if we do, you know. If the 21s are doing it, it's absolutely possible that maybe we're looking at trialing it, or maybe they just didn't have the personnel and they had to go to that system. But it'll be interesting to see if there is any sign of a back three or a back five when we return after the international break. Billy Shear said, is it too late for the league now? Are we too far behind? I think, mate, that's a personal question. For me, I don't think we have any right to talk about a title race now. If we had beat Manchester City, I would have said we're right back in the mix. But now I think Arsenal and City have the right to talk about a title race, and we have to earn the right to talk about a title race. So is it gone? Well, it's 8 points, so no, it's not gone. But the thing that gets me the most is it doesn't look like our little wobble's finished. It still feels like there's going to be some inconsistencies and some questionable results here or there. So for that reason, I'm at the point of no league title talk, unless something drastic changes. But for now, yeah, I think just keep trying to win each game and see where we are in 8-10 games time, because right now we've no business talking about a title race. Carl, how are we, dude? Be very interesting to see how we do without Salah during the AFCON, and if we hit a winning streak, what he does when he comes back. 51 months, Carl, as a member. Absolutely love it, mate. And yeah, I'm intrigued for the same reason you are, mate. You know, what happens if it does work? So let's say Isak and Ekitike are playing up front and Wirtz is playing in the hole, and we win the majority of our games, and not only win the games, but it looks like there's an identity coming into the team. It will be very interesting. And I dare say he'd be wrong to change it back at that point. And it kind of comes back, Carl, to something I said at the very start of the stream. I'm at the point now where it's time to build to the future. And if you're building a team around anybody now, it's around Wirtz, it's around Isak, it's around Ekitike, not around Salah, not around Virgil. We've got to build for the future. And this is a natural time for Arne to try to figure out what that looks like, because Salah is, on international duty for 6 or so weeks. So he's got no choice now but to try and figure it out. And he's not going to have the pressure of the headlines if he puts Salah on the bench. So that is almost a free hit, if you get me. But like you said, the really interesting part comes when he comes back. Like, if we do get on a roll, if we do find a rhythm, a system, a style of play that gets us wins, does he bottle it when Salah comes back and think, oh, we've got to put this guy straight back in? Or does he stick to his guns? This is what I keep using the phrases, these are big tests for him, but they are. Because we got to look to the future. Salah is a hero, an icon, but he's also not the same man he once was, and not having the same impact on the pitch that he once was. And it's not all on him. There's lots of change, like I said, but if you're ripping something up now to rebuild, you rebuild with the future in mind. That's basically what I'm trying to say. Paolo said the data guys must have known Kirkes and Frimpong are no good in a back four and brought them bombing forward. How many solutions are there other than a back three? Maybe not so much with Kirkes, but Frimpong, yes. I think it's very clear you're bringing him in, and his favourite position, and is probably his best position, is as a wing back. So, like you, mate, I don't think that would have escaped, the data analysts. But that's why I said for a while the only summer signing I had any type of uncertainty about was Frimpong, and it's not because he's not a good player. It's like you've said. I couldn't see how he plays in a back four, and it works. It just would be. He's a hybrid, isn't he? He's not a full back. I don't think he's a winger. I think he is in the middle, and we don't play with that system unless, as you said, we're changing it. Aaron said, if we go on a run of winging fixtures, but performances is still poor, does the conversation on slot change? Seems like given our opponents, but I'd still be unsure. For me, no. If the performances are getting better and the results aren't coming, I will be okay with that. If we're seeing progression. That's just me personally. You know, it's great winning games of football, don't get me wrong, but if we lose them in the right way and look like we were beaten by a better team, or, you know, it was close and it could have gone either way, but we're doing it consistently and we're playing better, I'll be a bit calmer about that. My big fear, if I was to give you two things now that scare me the most about where we're at, it's the lack of identity being one, and the inconsistency being two. They're the two things. You know, we just look rudderless, to use a phrase. We just don't. I don't know who the fuck we are. These weeks, Mo, is that the AFCON could really be a big chance for the squad. Thanks for everything, Mo, but the future is not yours. It's harsh, but it's probably true. And I think, look, deep down he knows that as well. You know, when he signed that 2-year deal, in my mind, and it applies to Virgil as well, but maybe more so to Mo, in my mind, I thought this season he'll be a regular every week, and in his last year, we will start to see his game time lessen and his influence on the team lessen. Now, because we're so disjointed now, you can probably make an argument to fast forward the phasing out part. Not totally, because I think he still has a lot to give, but like I keep coming back to, build it around the younger, newer players. Nikhil said, if we had have gotten Gay, we might have moved to a 3-4-3, in my opinion. Robertson can play, but not like Gay at centre back. Oh, that would be a fine back three as well, mate. You know, KONATE, Mark Gay, and Virgil. Absolutely, young Giovanni, Leone, and Gomez as backups. I'd have been all over that, dude. Yeah, 100%. But if that would have been the case, it kind of makes it more annoying that we shit the bed, though, doesn't it? That we left it that late before we finally made the move for Mark Gay. Because if that was the plan in mind, I would have hoped he'd have done it as early as possible so we can practice the formation. Paul Driscoll said, Mo Cut's quite an isolated figure right now. Sad to see. Yep, it is. And it's not just because of his own form. There are definitely extenuating circumstances, and some of them being Trent not being there, you know. It's so hard now because we're all searching. We're all trying. We're all trying to figure it out, trying to second guess the manager, trying to ask how on earth we're here. It's tough for us fans right now. And these are the toughest times to stream for me, because I know there's some disappointed people. I know there's some frustrated people. I'm frustrated. But I also think these are the times where it's more important that I come on and stream, because I think we need to all get this out of our system and talk it through. Who'll finish higher, we or you lot? Petter's a Chelsea fan, by the way, just for context of who we're talking about. I call it a coin flip at this moment in time, mate, because I think we're both inconsistent for different reasons. So yeah, coin flip for me at this moment in time. I think the top four do end up being Arsenal, City, Liverpool, Chelsea in some order. Curtis said, I was at the game on Sunday. I'm a City fan, so don't hate me too much. I've been to a lot of Liverpool City matches, but I've never seen one where Liverpool looked so unlikely to score. I was shocked. Curtis, firstly, mate, thank you for popping in. Appreciate you. You're not wrong, mate. You're not wrong. Like, City were the better team. And, I know we can talk about the Virgil van Dijk goal or whatever, but I still think you would have won the game. Like, it was very. Usually they're pick'em games, right, between Liverpool and Man City. There are a few outliers, the red card to Mane and, a couple of games like that, but we were so far off it. Like, you were passing around our half-arse press and, you look, ironically, if you look back to last season and when you guys had kind of a bit of a change of personnel and stuff, we're kind of seemingly going through the season you had last season where it was so inconsistent, so up and down. You question maybe some of the signings and thinking, when is it going to work? And then this year, it started to kind of nip back together. Haaland's obviously staying fit and scoring lots of goals. You've brought in decent cover for Rodri. So, yeah, I can kind of see some parallels to us this season with you last season. But I don't think any Liverpool fan in the chat would disagree with you about that being a very poor performance from us where we didn't really look. Like, we'd one shot on target, mate. One. And that was a shot from outside the box that Donnarumma parried from Szoboszlai. That's unacceptable. Nikhil said, you're right in letting get too late with Gay. Should have been done first one through the door. Jason Curry said, why Salah score so much last season? Wins league on his shoulders, loses Jota first day before his holiday, told to buy. Trent is leaving, Nunes and Diaz leaves, then all the new players. So I think he probably knew about Trent leaving. Obviously, the Diogo thing, absolutely fair points. But I think we have to work from the basis that last season was also a perfect storm for Salah. Like, they were his best numbers, pretty much across the board, for goals and assists, I think. But certainly, the impact that his form last season had on us was exceptional. We would have been nowhere without what he was doing last year. So I think to expect that again was probably unfair of us as fans if we thought we were going to see a same type of season, because that did feel like a bit of an outlier season, a bit of an exaggeration, like everything was going right for him. And he probably left goals on the table as well, if we're being honest. Towards the end of the season, he probably could have had another 5 to 10 goals and assists. And then this year, like you said, new players, no Trent, Diogo passing away. But you know who the leaders are when the chips are down, is what I would say, in any dressing room. And right now, it feels like a changing of the guard season. Did you know that Haaland has the lowest XG against Liverpool of the entire year? So they did something correct. Virgil normally does well against Haaland. I think what Manchester City did was put Haaland on KONATE in this game and almost allow KONATE to have the ball more than Virgil. And I think they were quite clever in that. But yeah, like, we've had good success dealing with Haaland normally. And the goal that he got, was entirely avoidable. And I say this again, like, I know he had the penalty, but he missed that. If Virgil was standing where Ibrahim Konate was, Haaland doesn't score that goal. Not a chance. Happy Craig said, Craig, I think I understand why no January signings. Instead of splashing cash on players like Semenyo in January, we splash on the big boys like Elise, Bastoni in the summer. So for me, mate, I've no problem with no forward, no DM. I struggle to find a valid excuse for no centre back in January. If we've any ambition for this season, I feel like we need to do something at centre back in January, because we are short there. The rest, like you said, no problem if we wait till summer for those, but we need to centre back. Or else we're no, it's not fair for me to say that. In my head, if we don't sign a centre-back, you're not doing everything you can do to try to lift the trophy this year. I feel like you're rolling the dice again, and often when we roll the dice, it doesn't work. Ozan Kabak, Ben Davies, Arthur Mello, it doesn't work. So we got to do it. We need a centre-back, get it done. Craig, it feels like Mo used up everything he had left last season, as I think this would be his worst season on record, for his standards at least. There's one more thing we haven't spoken about with Mo as a factor. The way the potential Ballon d'Or fell away. And he almost played himself into Ballon d'Or contention, and then almost played out of Ballon d'Or contention in a few very quick weeks where we went out to PSG, and then of course we had the League Cup and stuff as well. And it's almost like he was on the crest of a wave that we all, including him I'm sure as well, felt like may lead finally to him winning that Ballon d'Or, getting that worldwide recognition that he deserves. And then it just petered away. And if you add into that the Jota stuff, the Trent stuff, the new players, I think all of that probably got to him emotionally and mentally. Centre-back has to happen or we're throwing the season to 60s red. Would you sign Murillo from Forest? I do like him as a player, Mark, yes. Probably talking a whole lot of dough, about 80 million quid, but do like him as a player. But yeah, I can't believe we actually haven't had that conversation around Salah before, because I really do think it's another factor into, a very tough few months for him after, like I said, the crest of a wave where everything was incredible and he was in the form of his life. Thoughts on bringing back the away goal rule? It made knockout ties so much more exciting. I hated it, and it might be because I'm still in pain from Atletico Madrid tie, where the Uruguayan dude that used to play for United scored and we went out on away goals rule, Diego Forlan. That still stings. So yeah, I think I agree with getting rid of it, because I do think it just led to more stale, boring performances. So yeah, I think it was the right thing to do to get rid of it. I wouldn't swap it back personally. I would get rid of two-legged semi-finals in the League Cup though. I don't see the point of that. Yeah, either go neutral or, I don't know, find another way to justify who gets the home tie. But I do think that could save one game for players in a time where there's not much in the calendar that you can remove to look after players a bit more. Harvey King said, gotta have a centre-back in January. It's a must. Christina said, I think what happened to Mo end of the season happened to me. I would feel like I'd been hit in the face by a 10-ton truck. Yep. Because I honestly thought halfway through last season, Christina, I thought he was on for the Ballon d'Or. I did. I really thought this was going to be it. And I think even if we had have gotten quarter-final, semi-final Champions League, you still could have made the argument for Mo. Because he's never going to really get it on the international stage, is he? Because, Egypt maybe win an AFCON, but they're not going to win a World Cup or anything. So, he's probably not going to have the impact that way on Ballon d'Or voting. But I just feel like if we'd have gone a bit deeper, and if we'd have won the League Cup, won the league, maybe gone a round or two deeper in the Champions League, I really feel like he'd have been in with a really good job. Because look at who won it. Ousmane Dembele. And I probably come across disrespectful when I say this, but he's probably one of the worst players to win a Ballon d'Or I can think of. We had an incredible season, but let's be honest, none of us ever thought we'd be talking about Ousmane Dembele and a Ballon d'Or. We didn't. So yeah, I feel like it was just a huge chance missed. A huge chance missed from. Curtis said, I agree, get rid of that two-legged semi-final. I've actually said to somebody else, if they're going to take a game abroad, it's inevitable, even though I don't want it should be that game. I actually don't think that they will take a game abroad. The noises coming out of the Premier League seems to be that there is zero appetite for taking a game abroad because, and this was their words, I think it was actually Masterson or whatever the dude's name is, he said that the others do it because they need to do it. So Spain want to do it, Italy want to do it because they need the money. Premier League doesn't need it. The Premier League is already the most watched league that generates the most cash. So it doesn't need to be hawking itself around the world on, trying to play a Super Cup final here or whatever. Richard Masterson, I think he's right. So I actually don't think we'll ever see a time where there is an overseas Premier League game. Sinister said, I very much prefer Dembele winning over Yamal. Oh, Yamal didn't deserve a Ballon d'Or last year. No, not a chance. I actually felt like there was no really clear candidate last year. It's probably one of those years where Messi would have found his way to win it in years gone by. But it just felt like a chance missed because I really felt halfway through that season Mo was on for potential Ballon d'Or. Right, ladies and gents, let's finish up with this poll. And my goodness, this is close. So if you haven't voted, we'll give it another 1 minute. Please do. We're 830 odd votes. We're asking, do the players believe in Arne Slot in your view? Yes or no? Every vote really does count because it's that close. So we'll give it another minute or two. If you can, if you haven't voted, please do. I'd like to try and get it to 1,000 because it is razor close. Ollie said, Mo's always struggled towards the end of the season. Ramadan comes around, doesn't have the same energy. Not judging this, but I remember Muslim kids at school who were exhausted by lunch. I totally understand that, mate. Like I've said, I remember years gone by as well where he'd start the season and kind of peter off and not have the same end of the season. It's just unfortunate because I really feel there was a Ballon d'Or there for the winning last year, but we just, as a team, didn't go far enough. J-Bob said, Craig, the top three should have been Dembele, Salah or Rafinha in second and third. Maybe. I just feel like I said, if we won the League Cup and we went a couple of rounds more in the Champions League, I feel like we'd be sitting here talking about Mo winning the Ballon d'Or. Will I watch Ireland tomorrow? I won't. I'll be streaming, mate. I'll probably watch the first half and then come on and stream from 9 o'clock. I'm not holding out much hope for us to get a result in that game against Portugal. Craig, can you give your opinion on the Howard Webb statements lately? Literally, Liverpool should ask for Oliver Band. I talked about it yesterday, and I think it's nonsense, quite frankly, that it's not unreasonable for the goal to be ruled out. Look, it doesn't help when you've got outlets like the Echo, who are supposed to represent the readership of Liverpool, writing things like this, putting aside the inevitable and patently daft claims of conspiracy, largely made on the strength of Michael Oliver, increasingly at the scene of questionable decisions being the VAR for Sunday. This is about ensuring such arguments don't take place. So when you've got the Echo saying that they're patently daft claims of conspiracy, and yet at the same time saying he's at the scene of the crime more often than not, I think they're undermining our own right to question this. Because, again, they've gone straight to the extreme of, conspiracy theorist lunatics. Well, you would have said the same thing about Coup. How did that work out? We know Tierney wasn't very fond of us. So I'm not trying to say in any way that Michael Oliver has taken backhanders or anything like that, but I do think that it's at least worthy of asking the question, why are so many 50-50 decisions that I don't even think are 50-50 are always ending up in a top of the table clash or a big moment going against us when Oliver is involved somehow in the game in the past few years? I don't think it's unreasonable to ask the question or to say something doesn't feel right about that. I don't think that's unreasonable. The Echo clearly think it's tinfoil hat stuff, but like I've said, it's too consistent for me to feel like, at best, there isn't even a subconscious favouring, or to the other end of the extreme, something more sinister. But to label it as conspiracy driven, I just feel is fucking undermining to the extreme. And like, do I think Michael Oliver? Well, look, I said it going up to the game. Yes, I do think Michael Oliver, if given a 50-50 decision with us and City, is not going to look favourably at us. Because I said it all week building up to the game, that I'm more concerned about Michael Oliver being on VAR than I am about Manchester City's team selection or anything else. And there it was. 2 moments in the game, you may say are somewhat subjective. And for what it's worth, on the penalty, totally, understand it. Soft, but I can understand it. I have absolutely no fucking belief in that decision for the offside goal. It's bullshit. It's absolute nonsense. And to not even ask the ref to look at it, it's just bullshit. He couldn't quickly enough say, "Oh yeah, offside, agree, yeah, off." It's bullshit. Bullshit. So yeah, that's where I'm at with that one, mate. And I expected nothing less from Howard Webb, because the whole concept of the programme is nonsense. Let's just go on again and sell these decisions. Same with Ref Watch. That's a waste of time. Dermot Gallagher just going in there to basically fluff up the shit decisions of referees and tell us we're wrong and back up the referees' decisions. If you're not going to be really objective about it, then what's the point of having the show? Thanks, Craig, for your opinion. Great content. Keep it up. Sending greetings from Montevideo, Uruguay. Nice. Thank you for being in with us. Look, ladies and gents, I'm going to end this poll now. We're at 895 votes, and it is 51% of people said that they do believe that the players believe in slot. So 51% of the people that voted said yes, 49 said no. So it's, as you can see, it's far from a certainty. LFC Journal said, way too many coincidences now, and Oliver, way too many pro-City decisions from him. Even taking into account, mate, the Arsenal game we played, where it had an impact on Man City, that decision went against us. And I seen your comment, by the way, LFC Journal, earlier on, a complimentary comment, and I wanted to just say to you while I'm on the stream, wish you the very best with your journey. Thank you for dropping in and being here with us, and, all the best with your own content journey. Sincerely mean that. Right, I'm going to say goodnight, ladies and gents, and I'm going to go grab some shower and something to eat, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Remember, we'll start at 9 o'clock tomorrow. I'll have a video out in the afternoon as well, but really do appreciate you guys being in. If you can hit the like button for me before you head off, really would appreciate that, and we'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye-bye.